Why are some wigs so much more comfortable than others? It's actually a very layered topic. Layered, like how I threw a hair pun in there. Never miss an opportunity to do that. It's actually a very layered topic. There are many factors that go into it. One is hair density. So as I've discussed in my other videos, 100% density is the thickness of an average natural head of hair, healthy head of hair, meaning the number of hairs on an average healthy head of hair is 100% density. So you don't want a wig to be 100% density because it shouldn't lose a noticeable amount of hair. But over time, of course, and we want it to last a long time, of course it will lose some hair over time, but that's not going to grow back. Unlike with hopefully our natural scalps are, if they're healthy, they are growing new hair even though they're shedding hair every day. So you never want a wig that's 100% density. The absolute minimum that I would ever do is 110% density. Even that, I would only ever do for a fully hand-tied wig, just because the way that I'm able to distribute that hair is a way that works. It still makes for a nice amount of volume that when it loses an amount of hair that would otherwise be noticeable, in a wefted wig, it's still not going to be so noticeable so fast in that type of wig. This is my Emily design. This is 130% density. So most of my wig designs are 130% density. That's a good amount for a nice amount of durability. So that's one thing, a lower density wig, and many wigs are 150% density or higher. And back in the day when I was growing up in the wig business, the average density was 280% density, which is ridiculous. That's almost 3 heads of hair. But it had to be that way. I remember asking my mother, isn't it supposed to be like our hair? She said, yes. I said, then, but nobody's hair is this thick. I gathered it up in a ponytail. Nobody's hair is this thick. So why is it this thick? And she showed me, and she was a vigorous brusher. She grabbed a hairbrush. She's like, look how much hair is in the brush. It's a lot of hair. And she said, if it starts out looking like a normal amount of hair, it's going to be bald in a few months. It has to be a lot of hair so it'll last. And I, being 6 years old, I started doing wigs when I was 6 years old. Little parrot, I would tell people who would come in the store, it has to be a lot of hair, otherwise it's going to be bald in a few months. So yeah, they thought it was adorable. Probably got annoying pretty quickly though for her. She heard it all the time. Anyway, a low density wig will be lighter weight, especially the longer the hair, the more weight per density it ends up being, so that's going to make a difference. Next is the hair texture. That makes a big difference. Also, if you have a coarser hair texture, then the individual hairs are going to weigh more than a finer hair, which doesn't make a noticeable difference when you're talking about a few hairs. But when it's enough to make a whole wig, especially, again, as the wig gets longer, or if it's a larger head, means more hair, that can really make a big difference. So a finer texture hair will also end up making a significantly lighter weight wig. And that is one of the reasons that I use fine texture hair only. So this is European virgin hair. Russian virgin hair is even finer texture. I'm not such a fan of that. That does cost double. I use that as well sometimes, but that's typically only for a custom order wig. I don't normally stock that. Mostly for the gold collection. If it's a custom order gold wig, that's my fully hand-tied collection. I'm not such a fan of that because the texture is so fine that it can be hard for it to hold a style as well. So you do want enough texture that it can hold. This is styled a little bit, just at the ends, but whether I curl it, wave it, or just do the ends, this does hold a style really, really well. So it has enough texture for that, and yet it does still feel very fine, soft, sleek, and lightweight. So I really like the European Virgin hair texture because it's kind of the best of everything for my purposes. But anyway, the fineness of the hair is another thing that's going to make a really big difference in the comfort of a wig. Next is what materials are used in the cap. In the traditional silk top wigs, the scalps had to be very, very thick because the hairs were, the knots were hidden under the scalp, and they didn't have return hairs. So if you would take apart a silk top wig, what you would see underneath is basically like razor stubble. It would look like a beard, and it would feel sharp and uncomfortable if you touch it. So there had to be several thick layers of lining to cover that up so that could be comfortable and attractive to wear. So that made for a thick, heavy scalp. People also liked the height that gave them. You know, it was a different era, different style when that was in style. So people liked having the thickness up top. Now we want it very flat on top. Even if you're like, I like the volume, but I still like it to look like it's growing out of my head. And then the volume's coming from the hair, not the wig cap. Well, at a certain point in time, they wanted it to look like it was coming out of the wig cap. So styles change, but that design is a heavy style to wear, and it's very uncomfortable. And then there's the netting. There are different materials to make that, different ways of doing that. Some are lighter than others. I have made an effort to source the thinnest, lightest, stretchiest ones I could find that are still durable, because durability, of course, is a priority as well. I'll show you. Like this. It's very stretchy. And stretch is important too, because it's a difference between, is it going to stretch around your head and breathe, or is it going to like constrict around your head? And you can see how thin that is, but strong, that my finger isn't going through it. This would be a very embarrassing moment for my finger to actually go through it, but it didn't. Anyway, so that makes a difference also. And then there are other little details too, like the nape piece and whether that works for your particular anatomy. What's the shape of your nape and neck? And these are things when I check when I'm fitting somebody for a wig. What's the shape of your head right here? And what type of nape piece will work for you? Or should you even have a nape piece? Sometimes I'll say, you know what? Why don't we leave out the nape piece altogether? Ear tabs. How low should they come? Should we leave them out altogether? So the elements of a wig and what makes it super comfortable or super uncomfortable, what can make you forget that you have it on, and you have to remember to take it off before you go to sleep because you don't want to sleep in that, versus what's going to make you need to take that off the second you get home, can be very individual from one person to another. Some things are objective, like, okay, yes, we want to do low density, stretchy materials, breathable materials, and some things are very individual. Like some people are going to find lace very comfortable because it's more breathable. Some people will find silk more comfortable. Not the old silk design that I mentioned, but a newer, more updated silk design that's thinner, more lightweight, more breathable. I have a silk top design that's very, very modern and lovely. There are other silk designs also that are not as good, but very nice too, from other brands. And some people find that more comfortable than lace because they feel the lace is itchy or it's not as natural looking. So some things are very individual, and it's just important to have somebody who's a professional at this, who's experienced, who's talented, who knows what she's doing, who's willing to take the time with you and go over these details with you and do some custom fitting with you. And it doesn't have to cost a lot. A lot of places, including myself, a lot of places offer free consultations. You know, I charge money for wigs, but you can always come here for a free consultation and a free custom fitting, and we can go over all of these details. I do it virtually as well, and we can talk about what we can find out together, what would work best for you, because again, this can be very individually, very individual, but it's very important to, you know, a cheap wig can seem like a great deal, but sometimes cheap is more expensive. And it's a better investment to spend more and know that you're getting something that's amazing for you than it is to spend less and get something that you heard from your friends is amazing for them, but it might be a disaster for you because this is something very individual. It's like buying shoes or certain, what my grandmother would call unmentionables. They need to fit you perfectly. Just because it was the perfect one for your friend doesn't mean it's going to be just right for you. So there are places that have these great sales and people do very well at them, and that's great, good for them. That doesn't mean that's going to work for you. So if you have an opportunity to have a custom fitting, I highly, highly recommend that, especially if you have had issues in the past where the wigs you've tried just haven't fit right, haven't been comfortable. Maybe you don't just fit neatly into a small, medium, or large. I've had ladies who are a medium circumference and an extra large depth, meaning they're a medium measured around here, but they're an extra large measured here. And I just had one lady this past week whose cap size is a large, but her forehead size is a small. So I put her in a size large wig, but I took in the lace quite a lot for a custom fit. And it works perfectly for her. But if she went someplace else that didn't have this level of customer service and she was just taking something off the rack, she would never have found anything that fit her just right. And that's unfortunate. We can do better. And over here, we do better. So you can find my contact info. Feel free to reach out. Let's talk.